Was it the end of an era? The illustrious career of Manny Pacquiao may have seen its final chapter. With the WBA Super World Welterweight title on the line, Manny Pacquiao lost a close but unanimous decision to Dennis Ugas. Ugas boxed beautifully throughout, seizing control in the second half of the bout and proving that all the social media doctors who diagnosed him with a bicep injury entering the fight were shockingly wrong. All the credit to Ugas, who earned the victory, but did Father Time catch up with Manny Pacquiao? What's next for the revered Filipino global star? Let's hear from Manny Pacquiao after the fight.
I did my best tonight, but my best wasn't good enough tonight. No excuses. I wanted to fight for the title in the ring, and tonight the champion is named Ugas. I've done a lot for boxing, and boxing has done a lot for me. I look forward to spending time with my family and thinking about my future in boxing. Congratulations to Ugas and his team. You might not see Manny Pacquiao again to fight in the ring. I don't know, but for how many decades, I'm so happy of what I have done in boxing. Bring honor to my country, the Filipino people. And I'm so proud to be a Filipino and thankful to all the fans all over the world.
The always gracious Manny Pacquiao. Here's a Hall of Famer and some future Hall of Famers tweeting about the Filipino legend. Andre Ward says, "It's sad to see our champions not look the way we are accustomed to seeing them look in the ring. As a fan of the sport, it's sad, but it comes to the territory if you stay around long enough. I hope Manny does what's best for him and his family. Respect." Errol Spence makes a sad face. Man. And Terrence Crawford also says, "Only if." Ryan Garcia says, "Pacquiao will forever be my favorite fighter and inspiration." I mean, Barack, I couldn't agree with Ryan Garcia more. Pacquiao is an inspiration, should be an inspiration to all fighters. And even outside of the ring, what he's done and what he's trying to do, he's a definition of inspiration. The fight was very entertaining, Barack, but after the fourth or the fifth round, I don't want to say demise, but I saw the decline of the Filipino legend. But credit to Ugas for his game plan. What was your overall thought of the fight?
Wow, overall thought. I think we can't say your overall thought without saying Manny is a legend, and we appreciate everything that he's done in this sport of boxing for 26 years, maybe 3 Hall of Fame careers. He could loan guys fights to get them into the Hall of Fame, But I did see a decline, and he had an excuse for the decline. You know how fighters say, no excuses, but he slid one in there. Like, he loves the crowd, so he knows what to say to get them amped. But I seen that his legs were not the same. And they say that the power is the last thing to go on a fighter. I don't believe that. I believe the ego is the last thing to go on a fighter. And this is why when usually or sometimes the last person to see the decline in the fighter is the fighter. So I think that when a fighter tells himself that there's a specific issue why I didn't win, and it wasn't just that I got outclassed, I just can't do this anymore, then he's going to return. So I did see a Manny that got frustrated. By the 5th, 6th round, he was frustrated like, I can't do this. But I also know that before other fights, Manny Pacquiao was on a treadmill because his legs were tight, because his legs were cramping. So he's trying to loosen them up. So I know that this is something that happens. So I think he's telling himself, hey, you know what? My legs were cramping, my legs were tight. I just couldn't perform. Do I really want to go out like this?
Barack, I'll tell you, first off, of course he had a hell of a career. I think Brian Kenny might have been paying a little homage to the boxing bully when he mentioned he had 2 Hall of Fame careers throughout the broadcast, but I don't know, maybe Brian came up with that, right?
Brilliant minds thinks alike, and my mind ain't brilliant, but I got lucky in that way.
Well, listen, here's what I noticed about Manny Pacquiao that night. He's known to have great footwork. I never felt he had great footwork because a lot, throughout his career, he lunged in a lot and bounced back a lot and sometimes out of position, put himself out of position. I think Manny has always had great hand speed. And oftentimes, he overwhelms his opponent with hand speed, but opponents that generally will back up when Manny applies pressure. What Ugas did in that fight was stand his ground, and he was able to keep Manny Pacquiao at bay with the jab. Manny did not get into range throughout that entire fight. The only times he landed shots is when he was out of position, his legs were not up under him, and he would lunge and land maybe a left hand here or a right hook, a slight right hook there. But for the most part, he was kept at bay, so a lot of the shots were hitting air. He wasn't landing. Ugas will catch and shoot and landed the right hand all night and the jab. Honestly, people keep saying the second half of that fight belonged to Ugas. I saw early in that fight Ugas taking control. After the second and third round, in fact, the first 4 rounds, I had it 2-2. So that's how I scored the fight. I thought Manny was busy, but missing a lot of shots, and I thought Ugas was actually making him miss a lot of shots with the stick, keeping him at bay. He landed more of the power shots. He was in control, ring generalship. Manny looked busy, but not effective.
Well, you asked me before the fight, you said, how does Ugas win? And I said he has to control the distance. He has to keep him away with that jab, and he has to control the distance. And it's not like I'm so smart. It's that I seen what Floyd did. You know what I mean? So that's exactly what he did. He had a strong enough jab to keep him resetting. That right hand, even though you said it was looping, it landed, and Manny, he has fast feet. He just didn't have the fast feet Saturday night. And that's the thing. So you might not think his footwork is beautiful. It's awkward looking. He walks in, and that's not how a trainer trains you. But he was always able to come into the right range with any other fighter and let off his shots. He wasn't able to get into range with Ugas. Ugas knew exactly how to control that distance, and that's how he won that fight. And what do you do when a fighter has his guard up like that and you can't really get in straight shots? Then you hook him. And he could not come in range to do the hook. You do like Canelo did against Callum Smith. He either overhand righted him or he attacked the arms. So you hit him with hooks or you hook him to the body. He just kept Manny outside as much as he can all night.
I mean, he impressed me, Barack. It wasn't only the looping right hand, which I didn't throw shots, but I thought it wouldn't be quick enough, but he also threw the straight hand down the pipe as well. And see, Manny has fast footwork, but Barack, I think that it's always been kind of risky because a lot of the times it's overwhelming up top, but underneath, a lot of times he's not in leverage. He's not up under his feet. So he got away with a lot of mistakes basically throughout his career. But he's that good and that quick and that powerful to be able to do it. So I'm not saying anything negative about his career. He is one of the greatest of all time. But technically, he makes a lot of mistakes with his feet, and Ugas and his team had a great game plan for that. Throughout the fight, he also landed a lot of straight jabs to the body that kind of kept Manny at bay as well. So, listen, I love Manny Pacquiao, Barack. I don't know where he goes from here. I do agree with you to some degree that maybe the frustration will bring him back to the gym, and maybe he will want to see himself go out with a bang, meaning look impressive, maybe win a fight or do better than he did on Saturday night. I think his ego might still be with him, Barack, but if he were to sail off and run for president of the Philippines next year and most likely win the presidency, I don't think at that point he'll be able to do 2 jobs.
Right.
So
I think there's a few things pulling him away, yes, if he becomes president. People saying, oh, you're going to run? Of course he's going to run. Of course he's going to run. In May, we're going to see him running next year. He just hasn't made the announcement yet, and that's just my opinion.
Where I was going was that there's still time for Manny to regroup and maybe have one possible big showdown in May or before May, around that time, right before he runs for president to kind of, have a farewell fight. There's still room for that, and I think we might see that.
But would a farewell fight make sense if it's anybody other than Ugas? Because something that I didn't hear about is if there was a rematch clause. I think that, with the post-fight interview, or rather in the press conference, when you have a prepared speech, that would lead me to believe that the night is over, that you're at the end of your career. But I just think there's a reason, and I think in his mind, the reason was the tight legs. And I don't think that sits right with him. And I think it's too hard because remember Freddie Roach, I don't know if he made this public, but he told us the other day, last week, he said that he has a pact with Manny that when Manny retires, he retires.
Well, Barack,
Neither one of those guys want to retire.
Well, listen, I'll say this. Manny Pacquiao might come back one day. But as far as the big showdown against Errol Spence or Terrence Crawford, I think that ship sailed in regards to it being a huge, huge fight because of what Manny showed on Saturday night. And I'm not sure if it has the same steam. Those guys are not too happy about it, Crawford or Spence, but Manny can do what he wants at this point, Barack. Hell of a fight.